How's it going, everyone? InnovativeJdawg here, and it's been a while since my last Dragon Ball Super Manga chapter review. I'm currently in the process of moving houses, so my content has been a little slow as of late, but I couldn't leave you guys hanging for too long. Today, I'm going to cover the events of Chapter 63, and then immediately after, I'll cover Chapter 64 and release the videos back to back. So let's not wait any longer, let's just jump right into Chapter 63. If you remember from Chapter 62, we bore witness to Moro's new terrifying form after absorbing 7-3 and stealing his abilities. Throughout that chapter, he completely decimated the Z-Fighters in such a brutal fashion, leaving Merus, the undercover angel, to step in and take over the battle, despite the possibility of getting erased. Chapter 63 wastes no time jumping right into the action between Merus and Moro, as this entire chapter focuses entirely on the fight between these two powerful entities. I believe this is actually one of the strengths behind this whole chapter. Keep in mind, however, despite this entire chapter focusing primarily on action, Merus isn't here to kill Moro like most of us readers were led to believe over the past few months. In fact, Merus' primary goal throughout this whole chapter isn't to directly break Angel Law, and is just to stall Moro and to complete Goku's training of attaining Ultra Instinct. He even states this at the beginning of the chapter. Confronting Moro alongside Jocko, Merus reveals that the Z-Fighters who were trapped within Moro's barrier are now at a safe distance away from the battlefield. Hoping to stall Moro and give Dende time to heal the Z-Fighters, Merus engages in combat against the Planet Eater. Right off the bat, Moro was able to tell that Merus is some sort of deity due to his inability to sense life energy from the Galactic Patrolman like he was able to in the previous chapter. After disguising his divine energy when revealing himself, and now that Moro has put 2 and 2 together, Merus doesn't hold anything back and he just completely decimates Moro with his extendable staff. It's moments like this that makes me wish that Goku still held onto the power pole and utilized it in combat, because the way Merus spins that staff around at such an incredible speed and whacks Moro back and forth, it's just awesome. That one shot where he extends the staff upwards into Moro's jaw and sends him flying, it just makes me want to see some more staff-related combat in the series. Could you imagine if Goku was trained more proficiently in wielding the power pole and could imbue his own ki into it? That would be incredible. Hopefully one day we get to see some more fight scenes like this. As the fight between Merus and Moro heats up, it's revealed that Beerus and Whis accompanied Merus to planet Earth in an attempt to rescue the Z-Fighters from the Planet Eater. Beerus can say all he wants that he only cares to save Goku and his friends so that he can enjoy Earth's food, but I've said it in the past that Goku's had some sort of impact on both he and Whis. So deep down, I feel like Beerus considers them his friends, even if he wouldn't like to admit it. Leaving Goku and his friends in the care of Dende, Beerus and Whis leave the scene and learn that Merus had been separated from them. Now, to me, I feel like the inclusion of Beerus and Whis in this chapter was a little bit underwhelming. Don't get me wrong, I love seeing Beerus and Whis, but they really didn't add much to this chapter aside from meaningless context clues. All they do in this chapter is make quick comments that interject between the action sequences, and most of the time, these comments could have just been cut entirely and no content would have been lost. Unless if Toyotaro plans on having Beerus do something very important towards the end of this arc, I don't understand why Merus just didn't come to Earth alone like we were led to believe. In fact, later on in this chapter, Beerus points out that Whis willingly let Merus slip away, knowing full well that he'd confront Moro. So why didn't we just have this scene back on Beerus' planet, where Merus escaping to Earth could have been executed in a similar fashion? Anyways, back to the Z-Fighters, we see that Dende fully heals Goku of his wounds, including that gaping hole that Moro had left in his chest. Jumping to his feet, Goku learns that Merus is battling Moro, despite knowing that he's going to be erased, which causes Goku to rush off to the battlefield alone. Dende is left to heal the remainder of Goku's allies, but we don't see them for the remainder of this chapter. Back to the fight between Merus and Moro, the two seem to be evenly matched before Moro points out that Merus is actually holding back his true strength. Not a big surprise, because no matter how powerful Moro gets, he just isn't gonna hold a candle to the true might of an angel. Arriving on the battlefield, Goku tags into the fight against Moro as he taps into Ultra Instinct Omen yet again. Before I cover the fight that follows though, I just want to say how much I love this one panel of Goku powering up. Ultra Instinct Omen just looks fantastic with Goku's damaged clothing. It's probably one of my favorite shots out of the past few chapters. Rushing up to Moro, Goku attempts to strike him down, but Moro's speed is just too much and he proceeds to dodge all of Goku's attacks. We even have one of those interjections with Beerus and Whis that I talked about prior, where Whis points out that Goku has no chance of winning against Moro. Like I said, I feel like this interjection was useless because what immediately follows is a panel showing Moro knocking Goku out of Ultra Instinct back into his base form. So we could have just saw it happen. It didn't really need to be told to us, you know? With Ultra Instinct Omen failing yet again, we learn that Merus' true intentions of completing Goku's training was to give him some sort of push into triggering the mastered variation of the form. Similar to how Android 16's purpose, after his failed self-destruction, was just to motivate Gohan into transforming. Before the two can finish their conversation, however, Moro attempts to steal Merus' powers and sneaks his arm under the ground to grab the angel by the neck. Merus is quick to chop Moro's arm off with his angel staff though, and proceeds to smash the tiny gems on both of Moro's hands and forehead. This renders the copying ability that he stole from 7-3 useless, and thus, he won't be able to use it again moving forward. However, here's something interesting to think about. Prior to Goku's arrival on the battlefield, Merus was using some sort of bow staff that wasn't directly tied to his divine role as an angel, which is why he was able to fight and not be erased on the spot. Sure, he might have imbued some of his own energy into that staff, but he didn't directly use anything related to his divine position until he was forced to use his angel staff to cut off Moro's arm. Upon using his angel staff, Merus knew how little time he had left and quickly proceeded to bash Moro around and seal off his copying ability so that he couldn't use it in the fights that followed. During his last few minutes, as his body starts to fade away, Merus goes on to express how grateful he was to be part of the Galactic Patrol and how important it was to maintain peace throughout the universe from a mortal's perspective. He powers up and his angel halo appears around his neck as he prepares to deliver one final blow to Moro, with Goku looking on in devastation. During his dash towards the Planet Eater, who attempts to strike the angel down with an immense blast, Merus has flashbacks to the time that he spent with Goku in the Room of Spirit and Time, similar to the one on the Lookout. In the flashback, he has a chat with Goku about how many times he saved the universe and expresses confusion about Goku's decision to not end the life of the villains that he faces. Merus learns that Goku spares his opponents, hoping that they'll one day join the side of good, and that it adds an extra layer of excitement onto his goal of constantly becoming stronger. Overall, I'd say this scene is pretty cool, as we're given an opportunity to see Goku's perspective on fighting villains, and having Goku influence Merus' actions is pretty interesting, but I don't think it's entirely accurate to Goku's character, at least at this moment in time. In the past, Goku went out of his way to spare villains and has done just so many times, most notably between the King Piccolo and Saiyan sagas after he was training with Kami. He's spared and redeemed many of the bad people that he's fought. There's no denying that he's done this in the past. However, in recent years, especially after the Frieza saga, he sorta just dropped that mentality altogether and doesn't really care about killing or sparing the people that he fights. So while it's interesting to see Goku's thought process in this scene, it just brings up a whole lot more questions than what it tries to answer. At this point, it's an entirely different discussion to talk about why Goku chose to spare people at one point in his life and then decided to stop sparing them. So maybe I'll talk about that in a separate video another day. But for right now, I just don't think it's entirely accurate for this character at this point in the story. However, like I said, I do think it's a cool scene and I wish it was fleshed out more back when Goku and Merus were actually training. I don't mind flashbacks, and this one definitely felt necessary for rounding out Merus' motivations, but it would have meant more if we got to connect to Merus back then and expanded from that point forward. It just feels like all the connection that the audience was supposed to feel with Merus is being pushed on at the end of his character arc, you know? Delivering one final, powerful punch to Moro's forehead, where he shatters that final gem to seal off Moro's 7-3 copy ability, Merus' body begins to fully disappear as he wishes for Goku to protect this universe that he has come to love. With his body completely being erased, Merus had given Goku that final push into mastering Ultra Instinct, and the chapter ends with a shot of Goku's back as his body trembles in silent rage. This one shot is very reminiscent to Goku's first Super Saiyan transformation back on planet Namek when Frieza had killed Krillin. The silent rage that Goku is experiencing right now is referencing that one specific moment that changed Dragon Ball forever, a very fitting segue into what's to come. With that, Chapter 63 ends. Overall, I thought this was a pretty solid chapter. It took the time to spotlight different characters and their motivations, such as Merus, and I thought the action was really fantastic. However, I can see that there are a lot of problems with this chapter, such as the overwhelming amount of callbacks to past material that makes this chapter feel like a recycled product. Examples of this are Goku's silent rage, referencing back to Namek, as well as Merus' idea to sacrifice himself to trigger Goku, being a loose callback to Android 16 triggering Gohan's Super Saiyan 2 transformation. I had some complaints with Goku's character motivation during the Merus flashback, and I thought the interjections with Beerus and Whis were completely pointless, as they could have been removed from this chapter entirely and nothing would have been lost. But I would be lying if I said I didn't enjoy this chapter. Sure, it might be cluttered, but despite all of the pointless interjections and despite all of the references to past material that I love, this chapter was a fun read. I absolutely loved the combat between Merus and Moro, and considering it took center stage for the majority of this chapter, I'd say that's a good thing. The way he fought with his staff was just so cool to see, and I really hope we get to see more staff-oriented fights in the future. I may have a few nitpicks about the Goku flashback, but I think it fits well with the tone of Silent Rage and the theme of loss that Toyotaro is expressing at the end of this chapter. Maybe before chapter 65 comes out, I will make a discussion where I dissect Goku's character and pinpoint all of the changes that he's gone through when it comes to sparing villains. Let me know in the comments if you're interested. But for now, what did you guys think of this chapter? I'd say it was pretty solid. A little bit above average as it had both amazing moments and it was bogged down by a few nitpicks and things that I didn't personally care for. There was a lot of content in this chapter that probably could have spanned over 2 separate chapters, but let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Remember that in my next video, which will be releasing soon after this video, I will be jumping right into chapter 64 of the Dragon Ball Super Manga. So if you want to see my review for that chapter, make sure to leave a like on this video and subscribe to my channel if you're a fan of all things Dragon Ball related. Share this video out with all your friends who love Dragon Ball. Any and all support is appreciated. Until that video though, thank you all for watching this review, and thank you for being patient with me delaying its release. I hope to see all of you in my review for chapter 64, so until then, see ya!